Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Just getting set up here for y'all. Hope you're doing good. We did it. We got through another winter storm or ice storm in Atlanta. But what a letdown, right? We didn't even see snow, maybe a little bit of ice, mostly black ice. But, kind of letdown, right? Like things were closed and we didn't really get to have like the pretty snowstorm. I'm from New York, so like I hear a winter storm's coming and I get pumped. Like I have memories of building like snowmen and sitting in like little, snow tunnels for like hours with my sister, snowball fights, like running around the neighborhood, for an entire day with friends. But that's just the nostalgic side, I guess. I moved to Atlanta. That's my fault. Snowstorms and ice storms are going to look a little different and a little dramatized. But all that to say, it does get a little crazy out there on the road. So I hope everyone stayed safe. And we're still warming up. It's taking some time here to warm things up. But schools are back. My kids had a blast. They had fun. They were picking icicles and eating them. And being silly, walking around like it was like ghost town, outside. So all good, but we're back, and there's always next year that we can get a true snowstorm. So we'll see. But today I have a topic for us to discuss that is a very common one that comes up in people's fitness and nutrition journeys, especially right now where we're at about a month into 2026. And that is the all or nothing mentality, or the I messed up, so I'm a mess mentality. And this struggle with either being perfect or I'm a mess is tough, right? It's like we can find ourselves in this tricky position where it's literally all or nothing. There's no middle. And trying to break that and find the balance, so that we can get results and sustain results. So what do I mean? Well, this tempted us all this weekend, right? And after talking to a lot of my coaching clients so far this week and doing their check-ins, I can proudly say that even though they were tested and I was tested, and maybe we enjoyed a few winter storm treats, it sounds like most of us are coming out of it unscathed with this, which is great. So they're being set up with, the habits and the mentality to keep the results. But before I jump into the good stuff, if anyone is listening, I'm going to poll the audience real quick and ask y'all, what were some of your winter storm snacks? Did anyone have any? Did you all fall weak into any sort of winter storm snacks or ice storm snacks out there? Let's see. All right, I think people are joining in. So we'll give them a second here. But I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about kind of my weekend and how it went. But yeah, if you're tuning in, drop a comment. Let me know, like, did you fall weak to anything? Any sort of winter storm snacks? Was it something salty and crunchy? Something hearty and cheesy? Or something sweet and indulgent? Like, what's your style? I'm definitely a sweet and indulgent type person. So yeah, if you're listening, let me know. Drop it in the comments. What was the thing that was pulling at you this weekend while you're all warm and cozy under the blanket on the couch, watching a movie, hiding away from the rest of the world like everyone was doing? What was it? Something salty and crunchy, something hearty and cheesy, or something sweet and indulgent? And did it end up turning into a binge? Or did you cut it off? All right. I'm going to walk you through my weekend, okay? But first, there is scientific evidence that shows the combination of cold weather, reduced sunlight, and being stuck indoors creates a perfect scenario for our body to trigger a snack attack and to crave carbs and sugar. And thank goodness my husband and I don't still live in New York or England, where it's kind of like that for a majority of the year, or at least close to half of the year. So, all right, this is the moment that moment, right, where you are about to fall in the trap of the winter snack attacks that I want to talk about. That moment that's pulling you away from your plan, that's telling you just do it. You're under a blanket, it's cold outside, you're watching a movie, you don't have anywhere else to go, and the snack that you love is just there trying to get you to munch away at it, right? So you guys know what I'm talking about. You know that moment when everything starts to fall apart. And this doesn't have to be just like food, right? One missed workout turns into 2 missed workouts. Progress starts to slow, motivation dips, life gets really loud, or one cheat meal becomes an entire weekend. The standards you were holding so confidently start to feel heavy instead of empowering. And suddenly you're standing in front of the mirror thinking, I'm a piece of shit and I've completely lost it. Well, here's the brutal truth. This isn't about the pizza you ate or the workout you skipped. This is about the story you tell yourself afterward. Because the second you label yourself as a failure, you start acting like one. You've already decided you're off track, so why not stay off track? Why not have another bowl? Skip another session? After all, you've already blown it, right? This is the all or nothing mentality, and it's the silent killer of athletic progress. It's not the occasional indulgence that derails your body composition goals or tanks your performance. It's the catastrophic thinking that follows. It's the mental spiral that turns a single decision into a complete identity shift. One day you're an athlete with a plan, and the next you're someone who used to be in shape. But here's what most people miss. The roadblock doesn't require perfection. It requires a completely different approach to how you think about setbacks. Because champions aren't the people who never fall off their plan. They're the people who have mastered the art of getting back on it quickly and without the self-destruction and emotional roller coaster. So let's talk about how to break that cycle, and not with perfection, but with decisions. So the first decision happens in the moment itself. And let me tell you exactly how this played out for me just this past weekend. Saturday night, we just got back from a basketball game with the family, and we're settling back in at home for dinner and a pre-ice storm kind of game night, movie night with the kids. And my husband's cooking dinner, and he's picked up this new hobby in the new year, working his way through a cookbook by a British chef that we both love named Jamie Oliver. Not quite to the extent of the movie Julie and Julia, where it overtakes his entire life, but he's committed to making one dish a week, trying some new techniques and really diving into it. And I love that for him and for me. It's creative, it's fun, and it brings him and our family joy having daddy cook us something fancy. But here's the thing. I'm on a paleo diet or nutrition program, right? But it's strict and I'm dialed in, making real progress towards my body composition goals. And there I am sitting in my own kitchen, staring down at a beautiful bowl of fresh pasta and delicious dessert that my husband just spent time preparing with complete love and enthusiasm. And I had a decision to make in that exact moment. And this is where people find themselves at some point. Maybe it's not pasta at home. Maybe it's out with friends and the menu arrives, or you're at a family celebration, or someone brings donuts to the office. The details don't matter. What matters is that sudden, unexpected moment where your plan collides with real life and you have to choose. And here's what most of us make, or where most of us make our first critical mistake. We either white knuckle through the entire situation, feeling miserable, deprived, and resentful, smiling on the outside while calculating our macros and feeling like we're missing out, or we indulge and then immediately the guilt floods in. And we spend the rest of the evening and often the next several days kind of drowning in shame. I can't believe I just ate that. I have no willpower. I'm so weak. There goes all of my progress. But there's a third option, and it's the one that changes everything. So I made the conscious decision right there in that moment to enjoy myself and my family that night. Not to cheat, but to enjoy the food that my husband made for us. Not to fall off the wagon, not to sabotage myself. I decided to just be present, with someone I love, to honor the effort and care that he'd put into creating something special for us and to participate kind of fully in that experience. And I told myself with absolute conviction and zero guilt, I'm right back on it tomorrow. Not, I'll try to get back on track. Not, I hope I can recover from this disaster. Not, well, I've already ruined Saturday night as well. I might as well write off the whole weekend. So I declared it to myself with certainty that this wasn't failure. This was a deliberate, conscious choice to prioritize connection and joy for an evening. I wasn't spiraling. I wasn't lost. I was an athlete who made a thoughtful decision to step off of my plan temporarily for something that mattered. And then I already knew exactly when I was going to step right back on my plan. This mental shift is absolutely everything, because when you remove the shame and guilt, you remove the fuel for the downward spiral. Think about it. The spiral doesn't start with the pasta or the pizza or the dessert. It starts with what you tell yourself about eating it. It starts when you label yourself as weak, undisciplined, or out of control. That's when one meal becomes a whole weekend. That's when Saturday night turns into, well, I already messed up, so I might as well keep going through Sunday. And maybe I'll start fresh Monday, or actually maybe next week would be better. I ate that pasta. I savored every bite. I enjoyed watching my husband's happiness as my kids told him how yummy it was. I was fully present with my family. And when I woke up Sunday morning, there was no shame, no guilt, no mental baggage. That meal was a moment, not a referendum on my character or my commitment to my goals. It was over and I was already back. The damage is never in the actual calories you consume during those moments. The real damage is in the mental story that you either choose to carry or you choose to leave behind. And you can have the night out, the special meal, the celebration, and still be someone who's committed to their body composition and performance goals. These things aren't mutually exclusive, but only if you grant yourself permission to be human without attaching your identity to every single decision you make about food. You're not your worst meal. You're not defined by one night. You're defined by what you do next, by the pattern that you create over weeks and months, not by isolated moments. So when these situations arise, and they will arise because you're living an actual real life, not existing in just some training bubble, make the conscious choice. Enjoy yourself if that's what the moment calls for. And then without drama or self-flagellation, step right back into your plan. Because here's what I know for certain. The athletes who maintain their body composition and their performance long-term aren't the ones who never deviate. They're the ones who've learned to deviate deliberately and return immediately without turning a single meal into a catastrophic identity crisis. The second decision then happens the next morning. This is where talk becomes action, and I'm going to tell you exactly what that looked like for me on Sunday. So I woke up the next morning after enjoying that lovely meal my husband made, and the first thing I did before I checked my phone, before I did anything else, was drink a large glass of water. And not because I was trying to cleanse myself or undo Saturday night, because that's what I do. It's part of my routine. And then I went straight into the kitchen and made myself breakfast, because I usually try my best to eat some sort of breakfast within 30 minutes of waking up. So I had a couple eggs, turkey bacon, and some fruit, which is pretty normal for me. And then I had my coffee after, the way I always do. And this is my morning routine. I know this routine. I've done it hundreds of times. And I know with absolute certainty that when I start my day this way, I set myself up for success. I know that when I honor this pattern, I will stick to my goals throughout the day. And it's not magic. It's not complicated. It's just data that I've collected about myself over time. And here's what's critical. I didn't modify it. I didn't try to make up for the pasta by skipping breakfast or eating less. I didn't punish myself with some restrictive meal or extra fasted cardio. I simply executed my normal plan, the one I know works, the one that's gotten me results before. Because this wasn't about penance. This was about reestablishing my identity as someone who follows through. And this is where most athletes get it wrong. They wake up after going off plan and they either wallow in guilt, postponing their return to their plan, or they overcorrect with some sort of extreme restriction or punishment that feels like, they're beating themselves up. Neither one works. The guilt keeps you stuck in the spiral. The punishment makes you resentful and it sets you up to rebel again in a few days. What works is this. You don't just vaguely hope you'll do better. You create a specific concrete plan for re-entry, and then you start executing it immediately. Not tomorrow, not Monday, immediately. What does your first meal look like? Protein heavy, nutrient dense, exactly what your body needs. Not just a tiny little portion to compensate. A real meal that fuels you properly. When is your next training session? It's scheduled, it's non-negotiable, and you show up for it. You're not trying to crush yourself in the gym to earn back your worth. You're just showing up because that's what you do. What are your targets for water intake, sleep, and recovery today? Write them down, make them visible, track them throughout the day. Because here's the secret that completely transforms how you approach setbacks. Momentum works both ways. The same way one bad decision can lead to another, one missed workout becomes two, one indulgent meal becomes a whole weekend. One good decision creates gravity for the next one. So when you drink that water first thing in the morning, it's easier to make the right breakfast choice. When you eat that protein-heavy breakfast, it's easier to stick to your plan at lunch. And when you show up for your training session, even if it's not your best performance, you've reinforced your identity as someone who shows up. You're not trying to erase the night before. The pasta happened. It was delicious. I enjoyed it. I wasn't trying to pretend it didn't happen or somehow balance the cosmic scales with deprivation. I was doing something much more powerful. I was proving to myself that last night was an isolated event, not the beginning of a new pattern. And this is where the speed of your response matters enormously. The faster you get back to your routine, the less mental real estate that deviation occupies. When I executed my normal Sunday morning routine, water, eggs, turkey bacon, fruit, then coffee, I sent a clear message to myself. Saturday night was Saturday night, Sunday, Sunday, and I'm back. There's no confusion about who I am or what I'm doing. There's no negotiation, no drama, and no 3-day guilt spiral. The athletes who maintain their body composition and performance long-term aren't the ones who never deviate. They're the ones who have a system for course correcting so quickly that the deviation barely registers. They don't waste 3 days feeling bad about themselves, beating themselves up, or waiting for some arbitrary fresh start like Monday or the first of the month. They take immediate action, and that action rewrites the narrative from I'm out of control to I'm someone who gets right back on track. So by Sunday afternoon, the pasta was already in the rearview mirror, not because I'd punished myself back into compliance, but because simply I'd returned to the routine that I know works. And that's the power of having a plan and executing it without negotiation. That's how you turn a potential spiral into a non-event. So the third decision is ongoing. And it's this one that builds unshakable trust in your process. You track your food, your training, your habits, and you use that data as fuel, not as a weapon against yourself. If you work with me in our coaching program, this is why we have a habit tracker and a food log that we talk about and review on a weekly basis. This is why I have a nutrition coach myself that holds me accountable to my plan. I may have the knowledge, but having someone else review the data is a game changer. When you track, you see the truth. You see that one night didn't destroy your weekly averages. You see that you're still hitting your protein targets about 5-6 days out of 7. And you see that you've completed 90% of your planned workouts for the month. The numbers don't lie. This is where accountability becomes your greatest asset. Because when you have the data in front of you, you can't gaslight yourself into believing that you've completely fallen off. You can see exactly where you are. And more importantly, you can see the clear path back. You fell off for 24 hours. The tracker shows you that. Now get back on. You had a rough week. The tracker quantifies it. Now you know exactly what next week needs to look like. But here's the deeper truth that tracking reveals. Being perfect for a short amount of time will never get you the results you want. Being good consistently for a long time will. When you look back at 3 months of data and see that you were 80 to 85% compliant with your plan, that's not failure. That's exactly how sustainable body composition changes happen. That's how you build performance that lasts. And that's why we guarantee results in our coaching program if you follow the program at least 80% of the time. The tracking shows you that progress isn't about perfection. It's about the trend line. It's about showing up more often than you don't. It's about proving week after week that you're the kind of person who might stumble but never quits. So the next time you find yourself standing at that crossroads, the moment after you've gone off plan, remember this: you're not a piece of shit. You're a human pursuing excellence in a messy, imperfect world. The question is whether you'll have setbacks. The question is not whether you'll have setbacks. The question is whether you've built the mental tools to handle them without self-destruction. Give yourself permission to be human. Create your reentry plan and execute it immediately. Track everything and trust the process. These 3 decisions made consistently over time are what separate the athletes who achieve their goals from the ones who stay stuck in the all or nothing cycle. Your body composition and performance goals aren't destroyed by one bad day. They are destroyed by the story you tell yourself about that day. So change the story. Get back on track. And remember, you're not building perfection. You're building consistency, and consistency over time is unbeatable. All right. Well, that's it for me today. I was so pumped to talk to you guys about this one, especially after this past weekend and, the ice storm and the cravings that we all experience, being wrapped up under those blankets, watching those movies. And this is what all of my clients struggled with this past weekend and overcame. And so I'm so proud of them. If you're interested in working with a coach who gets it, who also struggles with this mentality too, but acknowledges it and works on it herself, then reach out to me. I'm a busy mom, just like you, who loves pasta, chocolate, and wine, and I get it. But just because you love pasta, chocolate, and wine, and you have it sometimes on a Saturday night, it doesn't make you a shitty person, and it doesn't make it impossible to still hit your goals. I would love to work with you and help you hit your 2026 goals. So if you enjoyed listening, please leave a comment, like and subscribe, and email Lauren at ox.fit so that we can work together. Have a great day.